Okay. And Faye, and one more thing. Questions. We will stop about 2:45. Is that right, Faye?
Yes, ma'am.
2:45. Questions. Please write your questions. If you see at the bottom of your screen where it says chat, chat. You can enter questions in that chat feature, and I will ask questions at the end. About 2:45, we'll stop and we'll start answering questions about that time, and then end about 3 o'clock. Okay. So with that, Faye, do you want to take over, my friend?
Absolutely. Good to see you,
Good
Nisha.
to see you.
Yes. And everybody else, hello and welcome. Uh, I, I have an interesting session planned for you. Microbial growth in our gut and the whole ecology of microbes in our gut has been my main area of interest since about a decade ago. I was diagnosed with non-celiac gluten sensitivity, which means that basically what it says that you are not diagnosed with celiac, yet you have gluten sensitivity. So no, this is not a fad. This is an actual diagnosis, and we are not imagining things. A lot of GI doctors uh, don't have access to the specific tests that will recognize this non-celiac gluten sensitivity. So I'm going to get into that a little bit later. But after my diagnosis of young onset Parkinson's disease, I was diagnosed officially with my non-celiac gluten sensitivity. So I eliminated all sources of gluten. And as we're going to cover it today, gluten is a inflammatory grain protein. Notice I said grain protein. So if you are following a plant-based diet and you happen to be vegan and you don't care to have any grain, then by osmosis, you're basically following a gluten-free diet without knowing it. So, anyhow, gluten is definitely a culprit when it comes to systemic inflammation and also inflammation of the brain and the central nervous system, which in the case of Parkinson, we all suffer from. So, if you are interested in trying, and I mean that, trying the gluten-free diet, try it for 3 months, and you're going to basically see the results. You're going to live a less bloated life. You're going to live with a non-foggy brain. Basically, you're going to have a clear mind. You're not going to have uh, belching, burping, bad breath, and constipation. Those are classic symptoms of gluten sensitivity. Nor are we, and I'm not going to guarantee that you're never going to have, let's say, a case of constipation. That happens a lot. It's uh, pretty common among us in the community of Parkinson people. So we need to bear that in mind. But if you were positively diagnosed for gluten sensitivity, one main reason behind constipation among the gluten sensitive population is the inflammation caused by gluten. So I just wanted you to hold on to that. All right, let's get uh, right in and discuss microbiome. What does microbiome mean? Uh, do, complete ecosystem, including the bacteria, fungi, parasite, viruses, and their genomes. That's important to note. The genes associated with various infections caused by all the bacteria, fungi, viruses, parasites are all included in the microbiome. All right, there are 100 trillion cells in the microbiome world. 100 trillion with a T. That's with 9 zeros. And we as humans, we have only 10 trillion cells. That means that we have 10 times more of these microorganisms in our bodies than we do human cells. Isn't that amazing? So we have, and they are as big as one hair that you have on your hair. The breadth of your hair is as big as the size of a microorganism. So can you imagine the world, the underworld that they live in is not very large, but the number, sheer number is amazingly high. What is their job? Let's talk about that. And in order to understand the consequences and significance of these microorganisms better, we need to dive a little bit into anatomy physiology. We are an open tube, basically, connecting the mouth to the anus. And so this open portal is how we absorb all microorganisms, all fungi, viruses, uh, various toxins, chemicals from the environment, as well as what all we already have in our gut. So let's talk about the specific microbes that are pertinent to us. As a person with Parkinson's disease, I can guarantee you that if I had not discovered what my microbiota was consistent of, the map of our GI, it's called GI map basically, is a map of all of these microbes along with the genes. If I did not know what I was deficient in and subsequently had not treated myself with the proper protocol of pre and probiotic, I would have been in a wheelchair by now. And how am I so sure about it? That is because not only the research that I have read points to the consequences of needing basically or being depleted of certain uh, bacteria and not knowing how to go about treating yourself. And that ultimately leads to vitamin B deficiencies, namely B3 and B5. A study was done in Italy, and they discovered that people who were depleted in their microbiome, they had the B3 and the B5 vitamin deficiency. Another study was done, and that one pointed to vitamin B2 deficiency. So 50 to 100 milligrams of vitamin B2 for 3 weeks did help the subjects in that study. All right, so number one, the bacteria that lives within our GI tract The beneficial bacteria basically lines the entire 28-foot long GI tract, or our gut, for the sake of this discussion, we're going to call it. So all of this length of the gut is lined with the beneficial bacteria, which has a sensitive job. Their number one job is to protect us against the invasion or exposure by toxins. Let me give you an example that's going to blow you away. They basically uh, had an artificial environment, germ-free environment made for a rat. And this rat grew in a plastic bubble, basically never been out of the bubble. And therefore, and they were just serving him his meals, and he was playing around and having a good old time. After about a few months, they introduced some toxic metal, namely lead and cadmium, into this rat's world. And the rat not only got sick, but it had basically an over toxicity of lead, which ended up killing the animal. So remember this, that having a healthy microbial layer that lines our entire gut is our protection against toxic metals in our environment, various chemicals. We wash toilets with chlorine or bleach, and those things definitely influences our microbiome balance. We call it dysbiosis when we have an imbalance of the good versus the bad or pathogenic bacteria. And as a result of that imbalance, children, for instance, within the autism spectrum, they suffer from heavy duty toxic metal toxicity. One big reason is the dysfunction of their gut caused by toxins in the environment, which predisposes them to toxicity from lead, cadmium, lithium, copper, zinc, manganese, and mercury, to name a few. So basically, the job of these cells is to protect uh, our internal world against the outside world. Uh, these good layered, these good friendly bacteria that live in the layer of the gut, the lumen of the gut, also play a big role in keeping the bad bacteria at bay. Not only toxins, not only chemicals, but the bad bacteria. We all have gone through COVID-19, and we unfortunately had to endure taking extreme steps in keeping our hands clean, our internal environment at the house clean. And for those of us who had no choice but to continue working with the public or going shopping, grocery shopping, and so on and so forth, we were exposed to a lot of sources. Basically, we had to wash everything that we bought, boxes of groceries and so on, into the house. What happens is the bacteria is a very adaptable microorganism. And these bacteria, they know what your dietary and lifestyle changes are. and they adapt to that dietary and lifestyle change. For instance, during COVID-19, we tried to have some semblance of cleanliness or bacteria-free life by using these hand sanitizers. As it turned out, the hand sanitizers did not take care of all of the bacteria in our environment. So we had millions of people die because they were relying on the hand sanitizer in order to get rid or keep at bay the COVID virus. And later on, we realized that not only the hand sanitizers weren't effective, but some people were getting very ill using them. So uh, the lesson learned from COVID was that certain things need to be in our ecosystem, basically in our body, uh, in order to successfully overpower the external toxins. We need to let our ecosystem take care of the environmental toxins because they are smarter than us. If we were to, let's say, have 1 glass of alcohol a day, our whole ecosystem is going to adjust and adapt to having 1 glass of alcohol a day. And even if you were not to have that one night or two, your body is going to alert you. It's going to say, hey, why don't you have what you're used to having every day at this time? Believe it or not, whenever you have a craving for something, it's your internal bacteria talking to you. There was a research done in England where they injected a fat rat cell into a thin rat cell, and the thin rat became fat. Wow, how do you explain that? Basically, there is adaptation going on according to the results of these types of studies they have done that proves that we have a very adaptable system, ecosystem, that adjusts to whatever the environment is that they are living in. So the good news is that when your environment is clean or semi clean, you don't have any problems. But it's only when your environment is contaminated with something that is harmful, such as PCBs, polychlorinated bisphenol, which is found in the soil, in our air, in the water. I know that it has been banned since 1977, but PCBs uh, are all over our soils, in the landfills when we dump them. They are especially abundantly found in and around those industrial sites where they were made. So PCBs, as well as polychlorinated ether, those also are plasticizers, and they are found in flame retardants used inside your furniture cushions, and they emit an odor and a harmful gas for as long as it takes for them to get rid of all of their gas. And that, unfortunately, is a heavy duty toxin that disrupts dopamine in the brain. So the dopamine, the little bit that we have left, instead of us protecting it by living in an environment that's toxic, that has, as we said, these things in it, for instance, electronic gadgets, they contain the polychlorinated, bromated substances. In order for us to get rid of it, we need to be careful and not have and test inside the home. And there are some tests that some environmental engineers do at a cost. It used to be around $200, but I heard that now it has almost doubled. But it is well worth the investment, in my opinion, because your body, your life depends basically on having a balance of friendly versus pathogenic bacteria. And with these tests, you can tell if there's a source of contamination in your house, if you have carpet cleaners that you carry in a spray, when your pet, let's say, throws up on a carpet, here we go, zapping the carpet with a carpet cleaner. And that causes the toxic gases to be emitted. And you're not perhaps noticing it because if you're not standing right on top of the spot that you sprayed, you probably are not going to notice it as much. But apparently, even the smallest bit of gases that are so toxic can travel into your nervous system and from there through the vagus nerve into the brain and cause cognitive dysfunction. Another thing for us, people with Parkinson, that is very important is, again, preserve the number of good dopaminergic cells in the brain. We already know that by the time we get diagnosed, we have already lost 50% of our dopamine cells. So we need to be focused on preserving as many of these cells as we can. So this is how you can do it, by basically having a toxin-free internal environment. You cannot control the air outside your home, but what you can do is have HEPA filters in the house, in especially the rooms where you reside and enjoy your life most. So if it's a den and a bedroom and a kitchen, then you have 3 HEPA filters, or you can move them around if you want, in order to keep the number of these toxins down. Another protective step you can take is basically having a diet that binds with these toxins. I have read studies about trichloroethylene, which has been studied quite a bit, and its effect is pretty stark and is very harmful to the brain. Dr. Ray Dorsey has also done research, and they have found nanomolecules of trichloroethylene in the brain of Parkinson's people. Nanoparticles. And as you know, our brain is already malfunctioning because of the misfolding of the alpha synuclein, and which is a protein that is supposed to help us reduce inflammation in the brain, but instead it adds to the inflammation. It's a pro-inflammatory substance when it's misfolded. So what you can do is to have take precautions. First, eliminate the sources of it so you don't recontaminate yourself or your family. And also, there are some products, some supplements you can take that binds with trichloroethylene. And probiotics, for instance, is one of them. Probiotics are the good bacteria that, if taken specifically at the right dosage for you, uh, they they basically are the byproduct of fermentation of starches. They're called resistant starches. And these starches go from your mouth, basically, whenever you eat some fiber or fiber rich starch source. It could be beans, it could be berries. Uh, that process entails sending down the fiber as a source of food and nutrient down to the colon, so it does not break down in the stomach. It passes through small intestine. It goes into the large intestine and then ultimately into the colon, where it basically feeds the microbes, the good bacteria that can ferment the fiber and produce short chain fatty acid. Short chain fatty acid is a crucial substance that protects us against cancer of colon, for instance. It can also protect us against uh, malfunctioning colon and constipation, for instance, is a big consequence of that, of the lack of short chain fatty acids. Unfortunately, vitamin B12 is also reduced, and as a result, we need to supplement or eat food sources of vitamin B12. But that is very tricky. B12 is found in eggs, dairy, and meat. And when you are following let's say, a vegan or a plant-based diet, you can't have either or. You can't have egg, you can't have dairy, and you can't have meat. So what do? We all know that the beef is unfortunately where these toxins that I just talked about, the PCB and the PCBE, these toxins unfortunately kill off the bacteria that are so necessary in order to keep us safe and to keep the lining of the intestine, the mucus layer where we absorb the nutrients out of food, intact. But if we are careless and we don't believe in the presence of PCB and PCBE in animal fat, unfortunately, we are not going to not only get better, but our ecosystem is going to be tilting in favor of the pathogenic bacteria. And these pathogens ultimately cause disruption in the nervous message signaling to the brain, as well as I said, it basically reduces the dopamine production. So we need to be aware of that and have these fibers every day in our diet, as well as you can also add starches such as those found in flaxseed and flax meal powder, as well as chia seeds. Various beans are acceptable. Black eyed pea, red beans, navy beans, white beans, any of those are acceptable because they're high in fiber. And you remember we said those bacteria in the colon live off, feed off of these starches. So, uh, if you have read in certain diet uh, cookbooks and diet books um, about the harmful effect of having lectins found in beans, uh, do not follow that protocol because we, as people with Parkinson's, we need to be extra careful about what we don't eat as well as what we eat. We need to be very focused on the sources of toxins, and in beef, in animal fat, that's where pesticides and pesticizers, extenders, they store in animal fat. And even if you were to feed yourself organic beef and organic chicken all day long, because they contain, the organic actually contains more of these PCBs and PCBs than regular beef and regular chicken. So if that's not amazingly sickening to you, I don't know what would amaze you. That basically is one big reason uh, I eliminated beef, and very shortly thereafter, I saw an improvement in my motor symptoms. Uh, I had tremors on the right side that were not only not getting better, they were getting worse. And when I discussed it with my neurologist, unfortunately, he did not want to try for me to try a non-medicinal approach, which was diet. And he very politely suggested that I increase my dosage of medication, the L-Dopa, by 150 milligrams a day. And we decided against it because I was having pretty severe tardive dyskinesia. And as you know, as you raise the dosage of the drug, so you do with the side effects. You increase the side effects, and that was already very bothersome. So I said, unfortunately, I was not able to accept that. And him being a good neurologist, he gave me the option of trying the dietary method. And he left it up to me. And that is a good neurologist who listened very well, tuned in, and knew that I was sure what I was doing was going to help. So I eliminated barbecue beef first because that was my weakness. And I was having it. Who doesn't like barbecue beef? And so I was having it probably once or twice a week and having a grand old time where I was having plenty of sauce on top and didn't think that there was a better food out there in the world. So come to find out that as you barbecue meat, the meat inside itself produces a substance that's called harmane, which is a neurotransmitter disruptor. And as a result of that, it causes the tremors to be exacerbated to where you notice a big difference. So thank goodness I used my brain. I immediately set aside all sorts of barbecue meat out of my life. I did mourn the loss, and I went through a very official, uh, basically separation from my barbecued meat. But as I noticed the difference, my doctor was so amazed. He was right behind me. And he said, Faye, I am so impressed with these results that I would like for you to publish it. So He became a co-author, and we wrote an article about using your knowledge of the diet mixed with exercise, mixed with, of course, the medication that I was on, in order to get the full benefit of the total wellness program for people with Parkinson. So I, Keisha, who knows me well for the past 3 years, knows that I don't force anyone. That's not my style. My job is to just share the benefit of my experience with you. And as you know, I love my community. I would do anything to help every one of you because I believe you folks need to know this. I know we're not making too many friends, unfortunately, in the uh, meat producing realm, but and the cattle owners are not happy about that either. But I wish that I could eat it. It's not that it's not tasty. It is unfortunately a medical condition that precludes it. So I basically have not touched any beef since 2017, I believe. So again, you guys do whatever you feel is right for you. But for me, the results were uh, basically uh, uncontestable. I could not deny that my tremors were down noticeably. My tardive dyskinesia was improved, and uh, and after a while, I didn't miss it anymore. Your brain puts it out. All right, it is 2:38, so I'm gonna talk quickly about. Uh, let me see what I want to. Okay, all right. There are some pathogens that, again, live within our gut that cause a lot of trouble. And these pathogens are unfortunately not visible to the naked eye. So we basically need to test for them, doing a stool test. And the good news is that we have such tests now. We have had it for the past almost 5, 6 years. And I basically tested myself and a whole lot of people and children as well. The test is a very simple one. You basically take a bucket that's shaped like a medicine hat. They call it medicine hat. It basically, you lay it on your toilet, you bring the seat down, and you do your business, and you uh, take a sample of it, put it in a tiny tube, about 5 ml, and call FedEx. They come to your door and pick up the kit. And that's the last you will see it. And once it gets to the lab, it takes about 10 to 15 days to get the results. And it is a very rapid test, it's a very effective test, and it's a telling test because it will test uh, the presence of close to 40 different bacteria. It will also test for your pancreatic enzyme. It'll test your elastase, for instance. It'll test for bacteria uh, uh, in the gut, the pathogens such as C. difficile, which is not, once it makes its way into your gut, it does not leave unless you are willing to try what this lady tried. And for the past 1600 years in China, they have done this. It is called a fecal treatment transplant. So, fecal transplant is the fecal matter from a normal individual, if such a beast exists. I have not met one, but in case you have, then that's good for you. But basically, they settle for semi-normal person who has not had any major diagnoses. Most of these samples are from kids below age 6 because a child below the age of 6 basically does not have, should not have, I should say, any of these chronic diseases that can show up in the stool. So basically, you go to the lab where they have stored a bunch of these children fecal matter, and you sign all of your consent forms, and you accept to swallow. They used to use it as an enema, and but now they have an easier way of administering it, and that is basically you swallow the capsule, and within 8 weeks, I'm quoting here, a fecal microbiota transplant was effective at stopping repeat infections caused by C. difficile for 80% of the study subjects at 8 weeks. That's a major positive result. And 92% hadn't had a recurrence in 2 years. That's an amazing result. So basically, uh, some university lab has performed this test, and they have realized that it has shut down the propagation of C. difficile. So why don't we do that for Parkinson people? Right, is the question that is begging to be answered. That's what I really want to know. So I contacted by email one of the study professors, and they happened to agree, and they said that we simply are lacking funding because in order to produce these fecal matters, and you have to go through tons of interviews, hundreds and hundreds of children and parents have to be interviewed, and in order to give consent for the study master, basically, to be able to use enough fecal matter to satisfy the study objective. So that's where we're standing. Stay tuned. If I'm still around, I definitely would like to report to you what the results of this future study has to offer. But basically, I have heard that around Houston, there was once a clinical trial that was run, but they did not have uh, any strong data to prove that the fecal treatment transplant was effective for people with Parkinson. So basically, uh, I am waiting in line to have this test done and the treatment done. But uh, to wrap up, I wanted to let you guys know about the importance of keeping your bacteria ecosystem balanced in order to think better. So get rid of foggy brain, get rid of the distension or the heavy gas that bacteria, pathogenic bacteria that eat away at your starches, dispose of the gases. And as a result, some people have come to me and they have shown their bellies. They look like they were 6 months pregnant. And that is only caused by the consumption of these resistant starches that gets to the colon. And some people have diarrhea and don't know why. And the worst thing you can do is to run to the doctor and to get medication to stop the diarrhea without first getting the proper diagnosis of, let's say, the culprit. So C. difficile, gluten sensitivity, or what have you. And once you fix the underlying cause, then you don't need to worry about a stool hardener or anything like that. So basically, I recommend that you find out first what the status of your gut microbiota is, what specifically are you deficient in, and target the treatment to meeting your specific needs. That is the most efficient way and the most economical way you can go about getting back to your health. So, Keisha, if you have questions,
I do. I
okay.
do. I do. I'm going to start. Looks like we have a few. I'm going to start with James Sherwood. He asks, or he says, I have MS and Parkinson's. Do you think a gluten-free diet would improve both conditions?
110%. How do I know that? I have had clients with both these diseases. MS people, that's an autoimmunity issue. And so is gluten sensitivity, and so is, well, Parkinson is a neurodegenerative disease. But MS responds very well to the gluten free diet because, as I said earlier, gluten is an inflammatory protein from grain. And if you don't know about it, I recommend that you try it for 3 months because it takes that long for the gluten antibodies to leave your tract, your intestinal tract. So I basically recommend that you try it. Sometimes you are so adapted to the state of sickness that you don't notice how sick you are until you eliminate this source of the weakness, if you know what I mean. Because all your life you have consumed pizza and that gooey cheese that they lift up the pizza slice and it stretches and it makes your mouth water and makes you high when you have it. Basically, that is the culprit behind feeling bad. So try it for 3 months and you will see it. But don't try it if you're going to just do it Monday through Friday and then you want to blow it on Saturday. Don't waste your money or time. I have seen so many people do that and it's not going to work. Basically, a teaspoon, amounts as small as a teaspoon of gluten can throw you off track.
Okay. James Sherwood also says, I was I was exposed to high concentration of dioxin, which is Agent Orange, as a child. Two questions. How do I detox with food? And does any food other than gluten irritate Parkinson's disease?
Absolutely. Foods that irritate Parkinson's are dairy. Why? Because dairy contains PCBs and PCBEs, those ethers that I talked about that is in the soil. And prior to PCBs being banned in 1977, they were used pretty prominently. So now we're dealing with the aftermath. And the cow that are roaming in pasture, that it has contaminated soil, They unfortunately carry that PCB into their fat, and but plants don't have fat, so the pesticides don't have a place to store. So that's why I'm for a plant-based diet for all people with Parkinson's.
Okay.
You can do fish and you can occasionally do chicken if you like, but it basically is my opinion not to mess with keto or Mediterranean. And Mediterranean is not bad, but the dairy, I was raised in the Mediterranean. Uh, and basically, they rely on 3 servings of dairy a day. So Mediterranean diet has never been the ultimate diet for Parkinson's. It has been proven to help if you start out having Mexican food or pizza, Italian food, and dairy and mac and cheese and all of that all day long, then you can't tell the difference because you've already been on too much gluten and dairy. But no, there are basically dairy, uh, these contaminated foods such as egg and cheese and meat and anything barbecued is not good for the person.
Okay. And last question from James Sherwood. He wants to know, do you recommend a brand or a specific probiotic?
Um, James, I hate to tell you this, but we cannot, I cannot tell which brand would be better for you until I knew you better. Because they are so specific now. Their formulations have vastly improved. At the time when I first started practicing nutrition about 33 years ago, they had 2 companies in the country, along with some from abroad, that were making good quality probiotics. Now they're close to 250. So 2 to 250, you see the difference. So as a result, uh, and every one of them has an area of specialty. I just discovered a month ago when my rep was here that they have now such a targeted probiotic formula that it can detect your negative moods, negative emotional mood, and eliminate it because the formulation is made such that the probiotic binds to the same receptors as drugs, basically. So, as Coke and uh, hydrocodone and various medicinal drugs. So, as a result, you get the same relief. Yeah.
Okay. MK has a question. They want to know, you were talking about the stool sample test. What is the name of the stool sample test?
That is called the GI map.
GI map.
Yes.
And we can request that from our physician.
Unfortunately, it is not, it's a complementary medicine
Okay.
tool. Yeah, so, uh, in the past 20 years or so that I've been looking for specifically this test, I have yet to find a doctor who does it. Uh, Not that they don't believe in it. Once they discover how nifty the results are and how quickly we can help the person, there are some colleagues of mine, and we work together on this. And they said to me in no uncertain words that if they were to choose that route, their colleagues would basically drop them
Hmm.
from their group. So if you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
But chiropractors, nutritionists, and so on usually carry the kit.
Okay. MK also wanted to know, is it recommended to give up chicken and fish or just meat?
Just meat to a
Just
bit,
meat.
yes, because the hormone substance, which is the dopamine disruptor, that is made in beef that has been slow on a slow and low cooker and smoked and so on and so forth for a long time.
Okay.
That's basically the reason behind it. But I would reduce my consumption of chicken, but you can have fish if you can find wild fish. But generally speaking, I think we're having too many proteins for people with Parkinson's. We have to be on a restricted protein, or the best results, I should say, has been obtained by the person following a restricted protein diet, meaning very little in the morning, maybe a little bit of these Canadian bacons that are like round uh, cuts of Canadian bacon. I love them because they're lean. They taste just like bacon, and they are very satisfactory. And I have that sometimes with my salad. I have 2 cups of salad, either in the morning or at lunch. And then on the side, I have a bowl of berries.
Okay.
And
Okay.
lunch, and do some deli and some fish. And then at dinner time, you can do a little bit less. But you need to watch it so that the protein, especially if it is from an animal source, is taken apart from your L-DOPA by at least an hour. Um, but I have fish all the time, and I have been able to have it within half an hour of my L-DOPA.
Okay. Looks like I'm going to combine two questions and then I have one more after that. But we're kind of running up at the end of our talk, but I'm going to see if I can get this done. Should eggs be given up and is dairy okay?
Dairy, as we talked about it earlier, is not okay for me
Yeah.
because of the pesticides found in
Mhm.
it. We talked about it at length, PCBs, PCBEs, as well as other pesticides. And it also contains casein, which is the protein in dairy that gets to thicken the mucus in the back of your throat. So we already know, you all know, we're all part of the same community. We know how dry our mouth gets at night because that's a big side effect of the L-DOPA. And I get so dry that sometimes I feel my tongue has rolled and it covers my air passage, and that causes me to wake up totally startled, thinking that I was going to die because of the dry throat and the dry mouth. So after a couple of these episodes, I basically searched and called some of the doctors, and they told me that I had this severe case of dry mouth after about 12 years, 13 years that I've been taking L-DOPA. So that's one extra reason why I don't recommend dairy because it exacerbates the dryness of the mouth.
Okay. And this is our very last question from MK. How to deal with weight loss and muscle loss without meat protein?
Okay, I hear what you're saying. Are you are very astute in your statement because as we know, once you eliminate meat, you're going to constantly crave more food. And if you are not on a meat-based diet, that means you're going to increase your carbs. and that is conducive to gaining weight in most cases. Not if you have lean starches and concentrated complex carbohydrates, such as these complete breads. You can buy the grain, the heavier the better. These are found at Sprouts or Market Street or Whole Foods. Basically, read the label and make sure that the carb per slice is not any more than 8 to 10 grams. Uh, that's the number of carbohydrates per slice. And the heavier the slice of bread, the better it is for you because it means that it is nutrient dense and you can bet on it that it has a lot of fiber. It typically has 5 to 6 grams of fiber per slice, which, if you were to have 2 slices a day, adds up to a considerable amount. So 12 grams or so of fiber in just 2 slices of bread. And so, yeah, I believe you have a good point. You need to be smart and have your sources of protein from fish if you have eliminated the beef or decide to. Fish is very lean. You can have bass, you can have halibut, you can have salmon, you can have tuna, the white albacore tuna. So, and make sure you have no more than about 50 grams of protein. For all of you, I recommend no more than 50 grams because that is not necessary and it's going to mean less of your drug is going to be absorbed. Because, as you know, meat uh, basically fights or competes with L-DOPA for the same transport to the brain. They're the long chain amino acids. So, good
Well,
luck.
Faye, I think we all are so appreciative of all your knowledge, and we look forward to these quarterly Ask the Nutritionist. And I think the world of you. So, yes, I'm glad to call you my friend, and glad that you're able to do this for us every quarter. We've run out of time. We've actually gone over time, so I appreciate everyone hanging with us until the end here. Just a reminder, can everybody see that? My camera keeps going in and out. Sorry.
There
It's
you
the Dallas Annual Walk for Parkinson's is tomorrow. If you can join us, please do. We've got looks like it's going to be an amazing turnout. It'll be another beautiful day. We'll have it here in Dallas. Seems like looks like we're good, about close to 500 people walking for Parkinson's tomorrow.
Wow.
This is by far our largest event, so we are just ecstatic that the turnout from the community and that so many of you are joining us. And I encourage anyone who would like to come out and who didn't get a chance to register online, who would still like to join us, please do. Please do. You can find all the information about the walk on our website. We have closed registration, but we'd still invite you to come on out and enjoy the day. It's from 8 o'clock until 11 a.m., 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. at Edgemere, which is right off of Northwest Highway, Thackeray and Northwest Highway. So please join us if you can. Bring your family, bring your pets. It's a fun event. We'll have music and food and just a great time. A great time. So again, thank you, Faye. We appreciate you. We look forward to seeing you. Let's see, we'll see you in July for our next Ask the Nutritionist. Faye, do you want to give everybody your email address if they want to email you directly?
Sure. It is my first name, Faye, Faye, at special Needs. N as in Nancy, E D as in David, S as in Sam, special needs nutrition.com.
Faye at specialneedsnutrition.com.
Yes,
Uh,
ma'am.
if if you'd like to email Faye directly, she is quick on the email, let me tell you. You email her, she'll email you right back.
Thank you, teacher. I appreciate it. And
All
I
right.
have fun.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, everyone. Hope you have a wonderful day. Hope to see you tomorrow. If I don't, then I will see you probably at a class or an educational series or an event. But thank you for joining us today and have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.